From Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
Tonight on News Hour, President Muhammadu Buhari accuses state governments of diverting local government funds. Labour Party accuses politicians of breaking peace accord as APC presidential candidate takes campaign to Bayelsa. Nigeria's First Lady Aisha Buhari to testify against university student Aminu Adamu over alleged defamatory tweet. Away from Nigeria, fight resumes in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo after days of calm. Hello and welcome to the News Hour on Trust Television. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thank you for joining. Here is the news in details. President Muhammadu Buhari has harshly criticized some state governors for the endemic corruption at the local government system, which he says is inhibiting development at the grassroots. The president spoke on Thursday at the State House in Abuja at a parley with members of the Senior Executive Course 44 of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, KURU. Describing what was happening as a terrible thing, the president urged public office holders to be guided by their conscience and personal integrity. Kehinde Amodu reports.
What is happening at the local government level is an open secret in Nigeria. Funds meant for development of local government is normally intercepted by state governors, leading to stunted development at the third tier of government. Despite paying lip service to the issue of local government financial autonomy, the matter has not gone any further over the last few months. An executive order signed by the president has been blocked, and the case remains in court. President Buhari is just amplifying what is happening at the third tier and is describing it as terrible.
50 million will be sent to the chairman with a letter that he will sign that he received 100 million. The governor will pocket the balance and share it with whoever he wanted. And then the chairman of the local government will see how much he must pay in salaries to help goes to development. Money for the salaries will be given and the balance will put in his pocket. This was happening.
The president is therefore urging all public office holders to be guided by their conscience, but more importantly is pledging that the recommendation in the NIPS report will be implemented.
It is obvious that government cannot afford to pay lip service to the recommendation contained in this report. I assure you that the report will be treated with the seriousness and urgency it deserves. Government will studiously study the report with the view to implementing the carefully detailed recommendations.
The report of the Senior Executive Course 44 suggests that for Nigeria to manage most of the challenges currently facing the country, governance at the grassroots must be set straight and corruption must be eradicated.
Your resolve to achieve zero tolerance in corruption is a struggle that we as a nation cannot abandon if we must prosper. The national and global support given to your administration is a huge opportunity to be leveraged on.
The takeaway from this discussion is clear. If the local community and the grassroots is not governed, there is no reason to complain that bandits have taken over local communities. From State House, Abuja, Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News.
The vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Yusuf Baba Ahmed, has expressed displeasure over the flagrant disregard by some political parties for the peace accord they signed in September 2022. Baba Ahmed, while addressing a news conference in Abuja, accused the ruling All Progressives Congress and its candidates, as well as the candidates of the People's Democratic Party, of alleged derogatory comments against his party and its candidate, Peter Obi. He therefore called on politicians and their parties to focus on themselves rather than demarcating other candidates.
Some erstwhile major political parties appear to have crossed the boundaries of decency to transgress our peaceful activities and our focus on political schedules. It is unfortunate that despite the noble objectives of this initiative, disinformation and misinformation about the Labour Party and its candidate have become fashionable in this election season. APC's strategy against Peter Obi now appears very clearly centered on promoting falsehood in addition to empty and derogatory personal attacks. And of course, this is because they can find no contentious point of negativity to push. Others are not left out. It is important to underline that oaths of office do not expire with tenure. And hence, the comment that northern electorates do not need a Yoruba or Igbo leader is greatly at variance with the oaths of office taken in 1999 and 2003 respectively, and the Peace Accord of 2022.
The presidential candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, has promised to end the deplorable level of development in Bayelsa State and restore its lost glory. Tinubu, who spoke at the party's presidential rally on Thursday at Oxbow Lake Pavilion, Swali in Yenagoa, accused those who have governed Bayelsa of underdeveloping Bayelsa. He told a large crowd of party supporters at Yenagoa that his administration will end the misery of the state if elected. The former governor of Lagos State said that Bayelsa holds an important position in Nigeria, being one of the major suppliers of the nation's wealth. Minister of State for Petroleum, Timipre Silva, said that Tinubu is a friend of the Niger Delta people and the only serious candidate in the presidential race.
That will create thousands of expert employment. I promise you a technical hub that will give you a link to the rest of the world. I promise you. Your house, your papa house, your mother house, your grandparents' house will no longer be washed away by the flood. Take your broom, hold it tight. Take your PVC, sweep them away. Let them go along with this flood. You hear me? Yes! Let them go away with this flood. It's the end of their lives.
And now on security matters, a report by the Tony Blair Institute has revealed that no fewer than 1,525 people were killed in election-related violence across the country in the last 5 election cycles. The institute has also raised fears that the 2023 elections may equally be characterized by serious disruptions from violence, particularly by terrorist bodies like Boko Haram, the indigenous peoples of Biafra, IPOB, and bandits. The electioneering-related violence, coupled with insecurity ravaging some parts of the country, has heightened fears among voters, the electoral body INEC, political parties, civil society groups, and even security agencies. The report, exclusively obtained by Daily Trust, concluded that unless concerted efforts are made to maintain peace and ensure politicians respect the outcome of the election, 2023 may see a post-election scenario similar to that of 2011. Now, we have in the studio our in-house analyst, Fidelis Makleva, who worked on that report, join us on News Hour to give more insight on this. Thank you so much for joining us on the News Hour this moment.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So tell us, while working on this report, what strikes you specifically?
Well, while working on that report, what struck me specifically was the chronicle of incidents of violence during and post-election violence within the 5 election cycles that we have had since the return of democracy in the country. So the report was able to capture from 1999 and 2011, 2003, 2017, 2015, and currently the incidents of violence that characterized elections. There are other aspects of the report which also talked about the number of killings.
Yes. So let's talk about the numbers now. No fewer than 1,525 people were killed in election-related violence across the country, according to that report. Now, many people believe that these elections are prone to the same circle of violence because of the language of the campaigns and the underlying security threats. Do you agree with this?
Yeah, that's true. That is why even in the report, such fears or such concerns were also raised. Because if you look at the trend of what is happening during the campaign so far, even the Independent National Electoral Commission, the Inspector General of Police, and some other stakeholders have raised such fears. The manner in which the politicians are going about, conducting themselves, and even their followers give room for such fears. So I think the report also raised concern to the effect that some of these terrorist organizations, the IPOB, the Boko Haram, and the bandits would also pose threat to that 2023 elections.
Are we likely to see a post-election violence? For those who believe that this is likely going to happen, do you see any credibility in that conclusion?
Well, it will all depends again. If the stakeholders, including the National Peace Committee that is also in place, do their homework very well, I think by the end of the day, that could be avoided, because it's something that can actually be avoided. We have a National Peace Committee that had been in place over the past elections. They have been working, accords have been signed and all of that. So if that is allowed to actually do their homework very well, talk to the stakeholders, talk to the politicians, so that by the end of the day you avoid this needless post-election violence, I think it is very possible that it can be avoided.
All right, we've seen several attacks on INEC offices across the country in some local governments. INEC is talking about perhaps more than 50 attacks on INEC offices in certain local communities. To what extent do you think this will affect the conduct of the 2023 election, despite the assurances given by INEC chair?
Well, that is also a worrisome development. Those attacks that have been happening with INEC offices, especially in the southeast, have posed serious concerns, or have raised serious concerns amongst stakeholders. Because the Independent National Electoral Commission is the umpire that organizes this election, and when such attacks occur, their property, other information are destroyed. So even though the Independent National Electoral Commission has come out to say that those attacks may not necessarily affect the election, but there is genuine concerns among stakeholders that, if you are targeting particularly the body that is responsible for organizing the election, then it means your aim is to, disrupt those elections or cause some setback to them. So despite the assurances, I think it still raises cause for concern.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Fidelis McLever, in-house analyst and also head of the investigative unit, for joining us on News Hour. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, now in a similar vein, insecurity may hamper the conduct of elections in some volatile areas in the country, particularly the north, if measures are not put in place to contain security challenges before the 2023 general polls. A security expert in Kaduna says in order not to disenfranchise residents of volatile areas, improved synergy among security agencies and resources must be deployed to deal with the menace head-on. Here's that report.
Insurgency, banditry, and other crimes have been lingered for more than a decade in the north. Communities have been ransacked and many devastated due to attacks by bandits, Boko Haram, and other criminal elements in the north. Although the general election is a few months away, some areas are still volatile, with criminal elements terrorizing communities. With the persistent security challenges, people are expressing fears about whether or not elections will take place in volatile areas. Despite these reservations, security expert Ibrahim Garba says such areas must not be overlooked or else many people will be disenfranchised.
The volatile areas cannot be overlooked, mainly because if they are overlooked, automatically the election will not be considered to be complete election. And again, some residents of those or people that are living around those volatile areas will be disenfranchised.
He says if the insecurity persists, election may not hold in these areas, especially in the north.
Well, when this insecurity persists, election cannot be conducted. That is why it is the primary duty of the government to ensure that the security challenges have been adequately taken care of.
A security expert says government must beef up security in those areas for the election to hold.
What the government will need to do is to ensure that security beefed up in those areas. The recent measures being taken by the government is an indicative that these security challenges, particularly in the volatile areas, are going to be taken proper care of before the time of the election.
Despite the gloomy picture, Garba is optimistic that the government will address the security challenges and restore hope in those volatile areas. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
Now, away from security matters, Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court Abuja has nullified the All Progressives Grand Alliance governorship primary held on May 29, 2022 in Abia State. The judge subsequently ordered that a fresh primary be conducted within 14 days. Justice Nyako made the order in a judgment on a suit by Chikwe Udensi challenging the outcome of the APGA governorship primary, reportedly won by Greg Ibe. The judge observed that from the evidence and testimonies of witnesses, the May 29th APGA governorship primary in Abia was flawed and marred by irregularities. Udensi lost to Ibe at the APGA primary that headed to court to challenge the outcome of the election. Specifically, Udensi had urged the court to declare him winner of the APGA governorship primary, or in the alternative order for conduct of a fresh election. The Federal High Court Abuja has struck out a suit by an aspirant of the All Progressives Congress in Benue, Michael Wandoka, challenging the emergence of Reverend Father Hyacinth Alea as the party's governorship candidate for 2023 governorship election. Delivering the judgment on Thursday, Justice Ahmed Mohammed held that although the suit was a pre-election matter, Wandoka filed it out of time. Mohammed said that since the primary election took place on May 26, filing the suit on June 10 made the suit status barred. He held that the suit was incompetent and the court lacked the jurisdiction to entertain the suit and struck out the suit. The judge also said that having found that the suit was filed out of time, there was no basis for delving into the substantial matter. Wandoka, a former Attorney General of the Federation, had dragged the APC Father Alea and the Independent National Electoral Commission to court on grounds that the APC conducted its governorship primary election in Benue in violation of the law. A federal high court sitting in Abuja on Thursday affirmed Oladipopo Adebutu as the winner of the governorship primary of People's Democratic Party in Ogun State. This was after the court, presided over by Justice Inyang Eko, dismissed a suit by Jimmy Lawal for lacking reliable and credible evidence. Lawal, who contested the May 25 governorship primary election of PDP, had challenged the emergence of Adebutu, alleging that an invalid delegates list was fraudulently used by the PDP to conduct the election. Delivering the judgment, Justice Eko described Lawal as a spoiler, having joined the PDP in March from the All Progressives Congress and participated in the governorship primary held in May. The court also held that the delegates list which Lawal challenged was the same list approved by the PDP and the National Electoral Commission and used during the primary, through which Adebutu emerged as the candidate of the party. As the 2023 general elections draws near, stakeholders have called for the strengthening of the Nigeria Police Force as well as police-community relations to checkmate electoral offences and other crimes. In this report, the stakeholders explained that until issues of fake news, destructive campaigns and cyberbullying are addressed through sensitization and awareness creation, checkmating electoral offences will remain an issue to contend with by law enforcement. Take a look.
The representative of the Commissioner of Police for the Federal Capital Territory says awareness of civic rights and responsibilities, as well as working with the relevant authorities, will go a long way in addressing majority of the vices recorded during the election season.
The police alone can't do the job alone. There's no way we can synthesize the community alone. It's a joint contribution just from the orientation, the National Orientation Agency, because today we have a lot of false information on the internet. The internet is a good place, but we have a lot of false informations, ideologies, which can be changed by this kind of meetings and seminars. When the rightful information is being sent to them, when they know the law, that this is the law, this is what it entails during the election period, this is what each citizen should do. The citizens themselves can arrest. It's not just the police that can arrest. But you can only arrest when you know what is right and what is wrong.
For the other stakeholders, it is a matter of equipping the force, improving police-community relations, and synergizing with the public and other partners to rise up to its responsibilities before, during, and after the elections.
Now, the IG and the CP himself wants us to be closer to the election coming in 2023. We have been saying that we want it to be free and fair, free and fair, free and fair. How can we make it free and fair if we don't know the don'ts and the do's of what is expected by us?
We, like other stakeholders, are concerned about incidents of violence that are already unfolding in different parts of the country. You know, the burning of INEC offices in some states, the intemperate language that is being deployed by politicians across board, the intemperate language and disinformation, misinformation, and fake news that we see on social media platform. The police cannot do it alone. You know, they need other citizens groups to complement the work that they are doing.
So far, the Independent National Electoral Commission has recorded around 52 attacks on its facilities across the country in recent times, leading to loss of equipment and infrastructure worth millions of naira. The federal government had, however, deployed security operatives to INEC offices nationwide as part of efforts to secure its assets ahead of the 2023 general election. Sagir Ibrahim, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The significant contribution of letter writing to conversations around leadership, politics, and Pan-Africanism has been emphasized as a guide to leaders in power. It is also seen as contributing towards profiling solutions to governance-based issues of national interest. This was brought to the fore at the public presentation of a 25-chapter narrative non-fiction which curates some of the most notable and historical letters written and received by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo. The report.
Constructive engagements tailored towards making good leaders is such that aids national discourse as exemplified by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, who is famed for using letters to speak to subordinates, superiors, associates, and foreign personalities, not minding the accolades or reproach such letters might generate.
But in many years, it will be hard to get any man in Nigeria to wear the size of his shoes, to have and to command such overarching presence. His record keeping will be a thing of envy to the CIA, to the FBI, to Mossad, to MI5, to KGB, to make them grin with envy. I doubt that anyone living in living memory has ever had this sense of record keeping.
Author of the book, during a conversation on his inspiration behind the book, noted that through Obasanjo's many letters, Nigeria wielded so much influence within Africa and around the world. He is hopeful that the same culture would be revived.
If you read the book, you will realize that Obasanjo spent his time and resources, including funding guerrilla movements, in Africa, just for Africa to be free.
In his remark, former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo expressed regret that Nigeria, a country highly revered during his years as military head of state and president, and wrote many letters geared towards righting the wrongs in the country, has fallen from her giant status.
Such that it's relevant, it's realistic, and it is purposeful and goes to the point to address the issue you want to address succinctly and clearly. It must also stand the test of time, and you will see almost all the letters stand the test of time.
The 492-page book written in honor of the former president compellingly tells stories defining Nigeria, the larger African continent, through a number of letters written to dignitaries in Nigeria and around the world that have never been publicly seen. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
You're watching the News Hour on Trust Television. Coming up shortly, we'll take a look at how monopoly is increasing price of beef in Bauchi. Details of this and more after the break. Welcome back. Here is a look at the top stories again. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari accuses state governments of diverting local government funds and limiting grassroots development. Labour Party accuses politicians of breaking peace accord as APC presidential candidate takes campaign to Bayelsa. In other news, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, said since inception of the present political dispensation in 1999, no administration has given all sorts of financial interventions to the states like the Buhari administration. The minister made the comment at the 6th series of the President Buhari administration scorecard at the nation's capital. Noel Samson reports.
Speaking at the opening ceremony of the 6th series of the PMB scorecard, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, said the financial interventions came to the state government at the time they needed it the most.
When the administration assumed office in 2015, at least 27 states could not pay salaries. Imagine what would have happened if Mr. President had not offered a helping hand without discrimination to the states. But for Mr. President, most of the states would have been plunged into serious socio-economic crisis with their consequences for the country.
The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, who was at the event, highlighted the performance of our ministry just like other ministers did from the first series.
In January 2019, we launched the Strategic Revenue Growth Initiative to drive our mandate of domestic revenue mobilization. We needed to move our domestic revenues from the rate that time, which was 8% of GDP, to 15%. And we had moved this to 9% before the COVID-19, and then we slid down again to 8%. So we're still on the journey to that 15% revenue to GDP. But what we've been able to do, despite the challenges, and recall that we have witnessed 2 recessions during the tenure of this administration, the non-oil revenue share of funding the federal government, we've been able to succeed in turning it around. The non-oil revenue used to contribute between 30 to 35% to the federal budget. Now it is 73% financing of the federal budget. And that's very significant. That is to emphasize that the non-oil sector is growing and contributing significant, and that is what is really holding the economy now, that it is the oil sector that is lagging behind.
According to this scorecard, the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari had made significant progress, especially in the areas of financial intervention. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, the National Association of the Nigerian Students, NANS, has condemned the detention of Aminu Adamu over an alleged defamatory post made against the wife of the president, Aisha Buhari. NANS President Usman Barambu, in a statement on Thursday, demanded the unconditional release of the student of the Federal University, Dutse. He also announced that a nationwide protest for Monday, December 5th, 2022, to press home the demand of the student's body. Barambu specifically said that the protest is against Aisha Buhari and the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, noting that the demonstration will continue until the student is released. Adamu, a final year student at the Department of Environmental Management and Toxicology at the Federal University, Dutse, Jigawa, was alleged to have made the post criticizing the wife of the president. He was arrested in November. Justice Halilu Yusuf of the Federal Capital Territory High Court later remanded him at the Suleja Correctional Center in Niger State for cyber stalking. Meanwhile, the reported arrest of Adamu has caused a social media storm, with thousands of users calling for his release. Also, global rights group Amnesty International has demanded the student's release. Nigeria's First Lady, Aisha Buhari, is billed to testify against Aminu Adamu, a student of the Federal University, Dutse, Jigawa State, for allegedly defaming her. Adamu was alleged to have published a defamatory statement on his Twitter handle against Buhari. The tweet was posted on 8th of June, but Adamu was trailed by a team of detectives and arrested on November 18 at Dutse, Jigawa State, and brought to Abuja. The police say that the alleged offense bordering on defamation and cyber-stalking contravenes Section 391 of the Penal Code, and in a list of witnesses attached to the proof of evidence filed by the police on Wednesday night, Aisha Buhari, the nominal complainant, is one of the 5 witnesses assembled by the prosecution to establish the case against Adamu. Now, former Vice-Chancellor of the Federal University Gusau, Zamfara State Capital, Magaji Garba, has been sentenced to 35 years in jail for obtaining money by false pretense to the tune of 260 million naira and alleged forgery. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on Thursday secured Garba's conviction at the Federal Capital Territory High Court, Garki, Abuja, after he was found guilty of a 5-count charge by Justice Mariam Hassan Aliyu. According to the spokesman of the anti-graft agency, Wilson Wujare, the former VC was arraigned on October 12, 2021 for allegedly extorting various sums from a contractor on the pretext of awarding him a 3 billion naira contract for the perimeter wall fencing of the university. Wujarang explained that the offense is contrary to Section 1, subsection 1A and punishable under Section 1, subsection 3 of the Advanced Free Fraud and Other Fraud-Related Offence Act 2006. Delivering judgment on Thursday, the trial judge said that the court was satisfied that the prosecution proved its case beyond reasonable doubt. The Federal Road Safety Corps Nyanya Command has restated its commitment to prosecute traffic offenders in order to reduce cases of overspeeding, overloading, and other anti-safety offenses by road users. The command made this known at a mobile court sitting where drivers found to have flouted safety rules were booked and asked to pay fines. Musa Luka reports.
The unit commander of Federal Road Safety Corps, Nyanya Command, Sabitu Abdul, calls on motorists and road users to abide by road safety rules to avoid accidents. The commander, during a mobile court sitting by the command, said the Corps organizes mobile court every year to promote road safety in the country and prosecute road offenders.
The essence is to send a signal to all road traffic violators to stop what they are doing in order to reduce crashes, especially during the Ember month period.
Some road users decried the operation by the FRSC, noting that some of them were charged for no reason.
So we're now obeying us.
I obeyed them and entered their premises. They booked me for overload, but I assured them that my vehicle carried 2 seats in the front. So I went to pay, but was asked to wait.
We came out this morning from Unyanya Maraba to Bega. Here at Karo Bridge, road safety stopped me. They did not ask me of anything. I tried asking what is my offense, but they refused to respond to me.
We were asked by the road safety back, and I begin to wonder what the situation is. I have to approach one of the road safety officers who explained to me that it is a mobile court, that the driver offended by not having a plate number and also carried over me. And I think I reasoned with that.
Abiding by the safety guidelines, the Corps says is the safest way to safeguard the lives of commuters. Musa Luka, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And news coming in reports that the federal government has announced that services along the Abuja-Kaduna Rail Corridor will resume on December 5th. Managing Director of the Nigeria Railway Corporation, Fidet Okiria, who disclosed this on Thursday, said all was set for the resumption of the services. Okiria, however, advised passengers wishing to utilize the service to commence updating of their mobile app from December 3rd to enable them to successfully book for rides. According to the NRC boss, the services will commence with 2 train rides from Abuja, Kaduna and vice versa. The NRC boss assured that the federal government's commitment to ensure safety of lives and properties on board its train at all times. Now, an unspecified number of passengers in an 18-seater bus have been allegedly abducted at Ochadamu along Ayingba Itobe Road in Ofu local government area of Kogi State. An eyewitness stated that the incident happened around 4 p.m. on Monday at a kidnapping hotspot on the highway. The report from the area stated that the hoodlums in their numbers flagged down the bus at gunpoint and whisked the passengers to the bush. The bus was said to be heading for Abuja from the eastern region of the country. The security operatives, including the vigilantes in the area, were said to be making frantic efforts to rescue the kidnapped victims since the incident happened. However, Navy Commander Jerry Omodara, retired, said that the state security advisor to the governor, Yahaya Bello, confirmed the incident on Thursday, adding that the state government was on top of the situation. Troops of the Operation Forest Sanity have discovered 2 unidentified female victims killed by bandits and also rescued 3 kidnapped victims from Chikun Forest in Kaduna State. The Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Aruwan, who disclosed this in a statement on Wednesday, said that the troops also destroyed several bandit camps during the operations. Aruwan said that the feedback to the Kaduna State government revealed that the troops engaged the bandits around Kwanti, Chikun local government area. The corpses were evacuated while the rescued victims have been reunited with their families after first aid was administered to one of them who was nursing an injury. Reports say that the bandits fled into the forest, leaving behind 4 motorcycles recovered by troops. The troops burnt down the dozens of camps inside. Now, angered by rising political violence in Borno State in recent times, especially during last month's attack on the PDP presidential campaign convoy in Maiduguri, the state governor, Babagana Zulum, has ordered the Nigerian Police Force and the DSS to arrest the culprits, irrespective of party affiliations. Zulum, in a statement issued on Thursday by his spokesman, Isa Gusau, directed Borno State Commissioner of Police to investigate and ensure all culprits are arrested and prosecuted according to the law. He said that since the safe existence of societies remains the fundamental basis of government, the state ought to be secured for the people to enjoy the dividends of democracy. Zulum maintained that a safe state will enable government to continue the safe and dignified resettlement alongside the provision of livelihood support that will enable citizens to cater for themselves through productive agriculture and other businesses. Still staying in Borno State, the government has officially shut down Gubio IDP camp in Maiduguri. The symbolic exercise flagged off by the Deputy State Governor will see the resettlement of over 12,000 displaced persons to their ancestral homes. The displaced persons were given relief materials and cash to support them in their respective communities. The Deputy Governor, Usman Kadafur, said that the camp closure is as a result of improved security across the state.
So we want to call upon each and any of you who, if notice any suspicious movement, they should report it. And also, where there is caveat of movement within that your environment, you shouldn't extend beyond the borders that are stipulated to you, so that when you obey it, I think it will make it easier for them to operate within your localities.
We were given bags of rice and maize, cooking oil, a blanket and kitchen utensils, and others. I really appreciate the government for all the items given to us. When I go back to my local government, I will farm to sustain my family. The last visit of the governor, he said we can decide to live in Maiduguri or go back to our ancestral homes. But for me, I will go back to Marti local government with my children.
Achieving peace and unity among the heterogeneous groups of Nigeria has again been described as non-negotiable. At the 2023 National Interreligious Conference in Kano, followers of various faiths believe that unity and peaceful coexistence is paramount in achieving Nigeria's socio-economic growth and development, especially with 2023 elections around the corner. Trust TV's correspondent Idris Jibrin reports that religious tolerance as a tool for national unity is among the major issues deliberated during the conference.
Tagged Harnessing Nigeria's Religious Diversity for Sustainable Peace and National Development. This conference is the third put together by the Kano State government in an effort to ensure peace and unity among all Nigerians, regardless of their ethnic beliefs or religious backgrounds.
If we believe that our future peace and security lies together rather than apart, then we must come together to understand the power of faith to force the greatest possible solution for the common good.
According to these religious and traditional leaders, peace must be sustained in order to add strength to religious tolerance and cooperation for sustainable peace and national development.
Peace is the gateway to freedom. And peace is the cornerstone of every nation. Every nation's development and progress need peace.
There are various established faculties that teach conflict resolution and peace studies, but we must find a way to bring simplified version of interfaith dialogue to the church to promote mutual respect and mutual understanding among citizens.
Peaceful coexistence is surely required for the growth and development of our respective communities and the nation in general. This makes the choice of the theme of this conference, Harnessing Nigeria's Religious Diversity for Sustainable Peace and National Development, as most appropriate.
Various speakers from both Islam and Christian faith opened up regarding their grievances on national unity for peace and possible solution to achieving peaceful coexistence among Nigeria's diverse and multicultural society.
It is more than time to begin to present religion for what it truly is, namely a powerful force for good in the society.
It's better we know our differences and then harness our resources in maintaining the unity in the spirit of federalism, which is unity in diversity. So here, we are here for harnessing Nigeria's diversity for self-development.
At the end of this annual interreligious conference, a communique is expected to be issued that will seek to address various grievances among the two major religious groups of Islam and Christianity to effectively strengthen mutual understanding among Nigerians, regardless of culture, religion, or traditional backgrounds. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
Now, cow meat is a staple in Nigerian meals, but the high cost of living is affecting the consumption of beef in Bauchi, and people have resorted to taking meals without meat. Stakeholders are accused of creating a monopoly and not allowing the forces of demand and supply to determine the price of meat. Trust TV's Adamu Imam reports.
Trading in cow meat is a lucrative business due to the high demand for beef. But profit margin made by stakeholders or middlemen referred to as enchori in Hausa language is deemed too high by consumers. These days, people are consuming meals without meat, and there are those believe it is time for government should intervene and regulate the business of cow meat for the benefit of the masses.
Under normal circumstances, the process of demand and supply should determine prices. But if at union level you peg a price that nobody should sell above or below this price, I think it's wrong. It is against humanity. It is repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience.
The consensus of all those in the meat business is that it is driven by selfish individuals within the market.
Most of the butchers you see on the street selling, they are not the real owners. They don't have sufficient capital to slaughter an animal and sell by themselves. So there has to be a kind of signage. A very rich person would acquire a large kitten, slaughter it, and distribute to retailers. These retailers receive it at exorbitant prices. No one can tell the secret of how much an animal was acquired.
Durum Market along Ningi Kano Road in Bauchi is one of the marketplaces where cow business is thriving. Those intermediaries are contributing to the cost of cow in recent times. They have nothing. They come without money and only prey on the buyers and sellers. At the end of a particular transaction, they usually collect their share, called la'ada in Hausa language. Despite the negative trend, cow business is still all-encompassing and is a secure place to invest. Sarkin Power of Durum is particularly emphatic that it engages a large number of people. We call them Enchori or Ennakama. The fact is that when sales are recorded, they will get something. If you are a rich person, people will always be around you.
It's water for our cows if they bring cows from the other places. So we want to be boreholes so that we can give to our cows. And we need government to give us pens to cleanse the market for us.
So who determines the price of the meat? Is it the market or the stakeholders? Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
Time now for us to take a look at business updates presented by Chiamaka Mwafo.
The Central Bank of Nigeria injected $11.24 billion into the economy to stabilize the value of the naira from January 2022 to July 2022. This was obtained in the banking regulator's monthly economic reports and foreign exchange market developments. The report showed that $7.6 billion was used to stabilize the naira in the first 5 months of the year. In an earlier report, the CBN said it had intervened in the markets with $1.65 billion, $1.39 billion, and $1.82 billion in January, February, and March, while the interventions were $1.56 billion and $1.18 billion in April and May. The CBN had been intervening in the foreign exchange market to stabilize the economy and respond to growing demand in the market. Nigeria is mainly an import-dependent country, which makes demand for dollars to import inputs and buy finished products high. The total value of electronic transactions recorded under the Nigerian Interbank Settlement System instant payment increased by 42% in 9 months, owing to the steady rise in mobile telephony and internet penetration. According to the data, the value of transactions processed through the Nigerian Instant Payments Platform amounted to 272 trillion naira from January to September 2022, compared to 216 trillion naira in the same period of 2021. 172.9 million units of shares was traded in 3,073 deals valued at 2.8 billion naira. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Mwafo.
Now, away from Nigeria, fighting with heavy weapons resumed on Thursday in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo between the M23 rebels and the Congolese army after 5 days of a truce following the decisions of the Luanda summit on November 23rd. This summit had decided on a ceasefire from Friday 25, followed 2 days later by the withdrawal of the M23 from the areas conquered for several months in the province of North Kivu. No withdrawal was observed, but the fighting had ceased since Saturday morning between the army and the M23, which continued to oppose militias on Tuesday in a village where many civilians are believed to have been killed. Let's now take sports updates presented by Adeni Ajishafe.
The Minister of Youth and Sport Development, Sunday Dare, has lauded the ongoing National Sports Festival in Asaba, especially the level of preparedness by states. Dare said his attention will be on the 10 days of the event to discover talent to deploy into the national teams for the next Olympic in Paris 2024. He also commended Delta State government for adequately preparing for the festival, despite not having 16 out of the 24 months needed to be ready. 5 states have registered their intention to host the next National Sports Festival, with the eventual host to be announced on 10th December 2022. And on football, Atlas Lions of Morocco defeated Canada to top Group F in Qatar as they reached the World Cup knockout stage for the first time in 36 years. Morocco beat Canada 2-1 to finish with 7 points ahead of 2018 finalist Croatia, while second-ranked team in the world, Belgium, are out after finishing third in the group with 4 points, playing a goalless draw with Croatia. Belgian players fell to the floor at full time as the supporters politely applauded them off the pitch. Romelu Lukaku, who replaced Dry Martins at halftime, came into the game with intent and immediately brought additional energy to the Belgian side. Croatia were unconvincing. They had a penalty ruled out by VAR due to an offside in the build-up in the first half, but did enough to secure progression. Chelsea forward Hakim Ziyech put Morocco in front in the 4th minute after a goalkeeping howler from Milan Boyan. Canada keeper sprinted out of his goal but passed the ball straight to Ziyech, who lofted a cool finish into an open end from 30 yards. Yusufa El-Nesri doubled the lead in the 23rd minute with a well-taken goal as he controlled Ashraf Hakimi's super pass before firing into the net. Canada, playing at their first World Cup since 1986, however, got a consolation goal shortly before halftime when Naif Aguerd turned Sam Adekube's cross into his own net. Morocco will play the runners-up in Group E. That's Sport News. I am Adeni Ajishafe.
And that's a wrap on News Hour tonight. You can watch more via all our social media platforms and also on our YouTube channel. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.